She had $17 in her bank account. Her mother was dying, and she was about to lose everything. Then a billionaire walked into her coffee shop and made a mistake. A massive, catastrophic, $100 million mistake. Emma saw it. She had exactly 3 seconds to decide. Stay silent and invisible like she'd been for 3 years, or speak up and risk the only job keeping her and her mother alive. What happened next didn't just change her life. It exposed a betrayal that had been hiding in plain sight for 25 years. This is the true story of how one waitress brought down a corporate empire, with nothing but the truth and 30 seconds of courage. Stay with me, because by the end of this story, you'll never look at the invisible people around you the same way again. Welcome to the Folktales with Grandpa. While you are here, please hit the subscribe button and share your thoughts on the story, as well as where you are watching from. You know that feeling when you're so tired, you can't even remember what it's like to not be tired. That was Emma's life. Every single day. 27 years old, and she felt ancient. Her hands were permanently rough from washing dishes. Her feet ached so bad, she'd learned to sleep with them elevated on a pillow. And that smell, coffee, grease, and something slightly sour that she could never quite wash out of her work uniform. That smell had become part of her. Emma worked at the Morning Brew, a little coffee shop on the corner of 5th and Main in downtown Seattle. It wasn't fancy. The vinyl seats were cracked and patched with duct tape. The floor tiles were chipped. The coffee machine wheezed like it had asthma. But it was hers, in a way. She knew every table, every regular customer, every stubborn stain on the counter. This particular Wednesday morning started like every other. Emma woke up at 5 in the morning in her tiny studio apartment. The place was so small, you could touch both walls if you stretched your arms out. But it was home. Well, it was supposed to be home. Really, it was just the place where she collapsed between shifts. She tiptoed past her mother's room. Through the thin door, she could hear Sarah's labored breathing. Her mom had been sick for 3 years now. Lung disease. The kind that eats away at you slowly, stealing your breath one gasp at a time. The medical bills were crushing. Insurance covered some of it, but some wasn't enough. Not even close. On Emma's kitchen counter sat a stack of envelopes. Red ones. Final notices. Shut-off warnings. Collection agency threats. She didn't open them anymore. What was the point? She knew what they said. Pay us or else. The or else was getting closer every day. Emma pulled on her uniform, a pale blue dress with a white apron that had seen better days, and headed out into the dark Seattle morning. The rain was coming down, because of course it was. It always rained in Seattle. She didn't even bother with an umbrella anymore. The Morning Brew opened at 6. By 5:45, Emma had the coffee brewing, the register counted, and the first batch of muffins warming in the display case. Tommy, the cook, arrived at 6 on the dot, grumbling about the weather like always. By 6:15, the early crowd started trickling in. Construction workers. Nurses coming off night shifts. Other exhausted people just trying to survive another day. Emma moved through her routine like a machine. Take orders. Pour coffee. Smile even when you want to cry. Refill the sugar containers. Wipe down tables. Repeat. Her mind was somewhere else, doing math. Rent was due in 5 days. She was short by $300. Her mom needed a refill on her prescriptions. Another $200. The electricity bill. Miss, can we get some service here? Emma snapped back to reality. Table 7. 2 men in suits. They looked completely out of place in the Morning Brew. These weren't the usual customers. One was older, maybe in his 50s, with silver hair and a face that looked like it was carved from stone. Hard. Unsmiling. The kind of man who'd never had to worry about a medical bill in his life. His suit probably cost more than Emma made in 3 months. The other man was younger, maybe mid-30s. Slick. Too much cologne. A smile that didn't reach his eyes. His suit was expensive too, but he wore it like a costume, like he was trying too hard to impress someone. Coffee, the older man said without looking up. Black. Same for me, the younger one added, giving Emma a look that made her skin crawl. That condescending look. The one that said, "You're beneath me, but I'll tolerate your existence long enough to get what I want." Emma poured their coffee, her hands steady despite the exhaustion pulling at every muscle. As she set down the cups, she couldn't help but notice what the older man was doing. He had pulled out an expensive pen and was writing on a napkin. Not just writing. Calculating. Numbers. Formulas. Financial stuff. Emma had studied finance, believe it or not. Before her mom got sick. Before she had to drop out of university with just 1 year left to go. She'd been good at it too. Really good. Numbers made sense to her in a way that most things didn't. They were honest. They didn't lie. They didn't pretend to be something they weren't. She turned to walk away, but something on that napkin caught her eye. Just a glance. A fraction of a second. But it was enough. The formula was wrong. Catastrophically, completely, devastatingly wrong. Emma froze mid-step. Her heart started beating faster. She looked back at the table. The older man was still writing, his face set in concentration. The younger man was nodding along, pointing at the numbers, saying something about the deal being a bad investment and too much risk. Emma knew that formula. She'd studied it in her financial analysis class. Enterprise value calculation. And this man, whoever he was, had made a massive error. He was dividing when he should be subtracting. He was inflating the debt impact by at least 25%, maybe more. Whatever deal he was analyzing, whatever decision he was about to make based on those numbers, it was wrong. Dead wrong. And from the serious look on both their faces, this wasn't some small decision. This was big. Really big. Emma stood there holding her empty coffee pot, and a war started in her mind. This wasn't her business. These men didn't want her opinion. She was just the waitress. Invisible. Replaceable. If she spoke up, they'd probably laugh at her. Or worse, complain to her manager. She could lose this job. And she couldn't lose this job. Not with the rent due. Not with her mom's prescriptions running out. But that formula was wrong. And someone needed to say something. Have you ever stood at a crossroads where you absolutely knew, that what you did next would change everything? That's where Emma was standing. Right there in the morning brew, holding a coffee pot, staring at a napkin with wrong numbers on it. Her hands were shaking now. Not from the weight of the coffee pot. From fear. From possibility. From that tiny, dangerous voice in her head that was saying, "Speak up. Tell them. You know you're right." But the other voice, the louder one, the one that had kept her safe and small for 3 years, was screaming at her to stay quiet. Don't make waves. Don't draw attention. Keep your head down. You need this job. Your mom needs this job. Walk away. The older man pushed the napkin toward the younger one. So we're agreed then. The acquisition is a no-go. The numbers don't work. The younger man smiled. I think that's wise, Mr. Cole. Very wise. The debt burden alone would sink us. Mr. Cole. Emma didn't recognize the name, but she recognized power when she saw it. This man made decisions that affected hundreds, maybe thousands of people. And he was about to make the wrong one. Emma's mouth went dry. She thought about her mother, sleeping in that tiny room, fighting for every breath. She thought about the red envelopes. She thought about 3 years of being invisible, of being dismissed, of being nothing. And then she thought, what do I really have to lose? Her dignity. That was already gone, worn away by 1,000 dismissive looks and condescending tones. Her security. She was one missed shift away from eviction anyway. Her pride. Pride didn't pay medical bills. Emma took a breath. Then another. And then, before she could talk herself out of it, she spoke. Excuse me, sir. The younger man's head snapped up. His expression went from surprise to annoyed in half a second. We're in a private conversation. Can you give us some space? But the older man, Mr. Cole, just looked at her with those hard, unreadable eyes. What is it? Emma's voice came out smaller than she wanted. Your calculation. On the napkin. I think there might be an error. The silence that followed was deafening. Even the sounds of the coffee shop seemed to fade away. The hiss of the espresso machine. The clatter of dishes. Tommy's grumbling from the kitchen. All gone. There was only Emma, and these 2 men, and the napkin between them. The younger man let out a harsh laugh. Are you serious right now? Mr. Cole, I apologize. This is completely inappropriate. But Mr. Cole held up one hand, silencing him. His eyes never left Emma's face. What did you say? Emma's heart was pounding so hard, she was sure they could hear it. But she'd come this far. She couldn't stop now. She set down the coffee pot and pointed at the napkin with a trembling finger. Your formula, sir. For calculating enterprise value. You're dividing the debt by 0.8, which means you're actually increasing its impact on the valuation by 25%. But debt should be subtracted from the enterprise value at face value. Or if you're applying a risk adjustment, it should be applied to the revenue multiple, not to the debt itself. The way you've written it, you're telling yourself this company is worth about 30% less than it actually is. The words tumbled out in a rush. Years of suppressed knowledge, of unused education, of a mind that had been forced to think about coffee orders instead of financial models, all pouring out at once. The younger man's face had gone red. This is absurd. Mr. Cole, she's a waitress. She doesn't know what she's talking about. I've been in finance for 10 years. Be quiet, Derek. Mr. Cole's voice was soft, but it cut like a knife. Derek shut his mouth instantly. Mr. Cole picked up the napkin. He stared at it, really looked at it. His jaw tightened. A muscle twitched in his cheek. Emma watched his eyes move across the numbers, retracing the formula, checking her logic, testing it against his own knowledge. The silence stretched. 1 second. 2. 5. 10. Emma wanted to run. She wanted to disappear into the floor. What had she done? She'd just embarrassed herself in front of a powerful businessman. She'd probably get fired. Tommy would tell their boss, and that would be it. Game over. Finally, Mr. Cole looked up. Not at Emma. At Derek. Is she right? Derek stammered. Well, sir, it's a complex model. There are multiple variables, and I didn't ask for an explanation. I asked a yes or no question. Is she right? Derek's face went from red to pale. He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. No words came out. Mr. Cole's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Anger. Realization. Emma couldn't tell. Then he did something Emma never expected. He stood up, all 6 feet plus of him, rising to his full height. He reached into his wallet, pulled out a crisp $100 bill, and placed it on the table. Then he looked at Emma. What's your name? Emma. Emma Ward. He repeated it slowly, like he was memorizing it. Emma Ward. He glanced at her stained apron, her worn-out shoes, then back to her face. Get your coat. You're coming with me. Emma's brain short-circuited. Sir, I have a shift. I can't just. Yes, you can. He raised his voice toward the kitchen. Hey, Tommy. Tommy appeared in the doorway, spatula in hand, looking confused. Yeah. Your waitress just quit. I'm hiring her. Mr. Cole looked back at Emma. Your coat. Now. And just like that, Emma's life split in two. There was before and after. Before this moment, and after it. And she was standing right on the line between them. Let me tell you something about life-changing moments. They don't feel magical. They don't feel like a movie. They feel terrifying. Emma's hands shook as she untied her apron. Tommy was staring at her like she'd grown a second head. A couple of regular customers had stopped eating to watch. The whole coffee shop had gone quiet. Emma, what are you doing? Tommy hissed. You can't just leave. Pete's gonna be furious. Pete, their boss. A man whose favorite hobby was yelling at employees for taking bathroom breaks that lasted more than 3 minutes. But Emma was already moving. Something in her had snapped. Or maybe something had finally clicked into place. She grabbed her thin jacket from the hook by the kitchen, the one with the broken zipper that she kept meaning to fix. Derek was waiting by the door, his face a mask of barely controlled rage. Mr. Cole was already outside. Through the window, Emma could see a black car pulling up to the curb. Not just any car. A Mercedes. The kind with the leather seats and the silent engine. Emma stepped outside into the rain. The cold hit her like a slap. Mr. Cole was holding the car door open. Get in. Emma slid into the back seat, and the world went quiet. The rain, the traffic, the chaos of the city, all of it disappeared behind the sealed doors. The car smelled like leather and expensive cologne. The seat was so soft, Emma felt like she was sitting on a cloud. Mr. Cole got in beside her. Derek climbed into the front passenger seat, rigid as a board. The driver, a man in a black suit, didn't say a word. He just started driving. Nobody spoke. Emma looked at her hands. They were red and rough from years of washing dishes, scrubbing counters, handling hot plates. They didn't belong in this car. She didn't belong in this car. What was she doing? They drove through downtown Seattle, past the familiar streets Emma knew, and into the part of the city she'd only ever seen from a distance. The financial district. Glass towers reaching into the cloudy sky. Buildings with names like Summit Financial Center and Pacific Wealth Tower. The car pulled into an underground parking garage. Emma's ears popped as they descended. Level 1. Level 2. Level 3. They kept going until they reached a section marked Private Executive Parking. The car stopped in a spot labeled J. Cole, reserved. J. Cole. Now Emma knew his first initial. That was something, at least. This way, Mr. Cole said. They took a private elevator. Not the regular elevator that regular people used. A special one that required Mr. Cole to scan his fingerprint. The elevator moved so smoothly, Emma almost didn't realize they were moving. But her ears told her they were going up. Fast. The display didn't show floor numbers. It just said executive level. When the doors opened, Emma forgot how to breathe. She'd never seen anything like it. The office was massive, all glass and steel, and would that looked like it cost more than a car. The walls were windows, floor-to-ceiling windows that showed the entire city spread out below like a toy model. The Space Needle in the distance. Elliott Bay sparkling under the cloudy sky. The mountains beyond. Sit, Mr. Cole commanded, pointing to a chair across from his desk. Emma Saturday. The chair was probably worth more than everything she owned. Derek stood by the door like a soldier waiting for orders. Mr. Cole walked around his desk and sat down. He laced his fingers together and stared at Emma with those cold, calculating eyes. The silence was unbearable. Finally, he spoke. You studied finance. It wasn't a question. But Emma answered anyway. Yes, sir. At University of Washington. I was 1 year away from graduating when I had to drop out. My mother got sick, and I needed to work full-time to cover her medical expenses. Mr. Cole nodded slowly. So you've been waiting tables, wasting that brain on coffee orders and tip calculations. Emma didn't know if that required an answer, so she stayed quiet. Mr. Cole leaned forward. Emma Ward, I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to think very carefully before you answer. Emma's heart was racing again. That calculation on the napkin, he continued. Why was Derek here pushing me to accept it? The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Emma glanced at Derek. He was sweating now, little beads forming on his forehead. He might have made an honest mistake, Emma said carefully. I don't pay people $600,000 a year to make honest mistakes that cost me hundreds of millions, Mr. Cole said, his voice deadly quiet. Try again. Emma looked at Derek again. His face was pale now, desperate. And suddenly, she saw it. The whole picture. The way Derek had been so quick to agree with the wrong numbers. The way he'd tried to shut her up. The way he'd steered Mr. Cole away from the deal. She had nothing left to lose. She'd already walked out of her job. She'd already burned that bridge. Honesty was all she had left. He wasn't making a mistake, Emma said quietly. He was lying. Derek exploded. That's insane. Mr. Cole, this is ridiculous. You're taking the word of a waitress over mine? I've been with you for 8 years. Shut up, Derek, Mr. Cole said without taking his eyes off Emma. Continue. Emma took a breath. When I corrected you, he didn't look confused. He looked angry. He looked guilty. He already knew the numbers were wrong. He was feeding you false information to make you walk away from a good deal. And the only reason someone would do that is if someone else wanted that deal. Someone who's willing to pay for inside information. Mr. Cole's face didn't change, but something dark and dangerous flickered in his eyes. Who? He asked. Your competitor, Emma said. Whoever else is bidding for that same company. A slow, cold smile spread across Mr. Cole's face. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of a predator. Derek, he said softly. Sir, Derek whispered. You're fired. You know what's harder than being poor? Being trusted. Emma learned that lesson fast. Real fast. After Mr. Cole fired Derek right there in front of her, watching him beg, watching security escort him out, watching his entire life collapse in 10 minutes, Mr. Cole turned to Emma with an offer that made her head spin. $300,000 a year. A signing bonus to cover her mother's medical bills. A job title, special consultant, reporting directly to him. Her mission, find the real leak. Because Derek, Mr. Cole explained, was just a symptom. Someone higher up was feeding information to his biggest rival, a man named Victor Sterling. Emma said yes. What else could she say? The next 48 hours were a blur. HR processed her paperwork. She bought new clothes with the company credit card, real professional clothes that actually fit. She received a check with so many zeros, she had to count them twice. She paid off every red envelope. She got her mom into a better care facility with actual nurses and clean rooms and medicine that didn't have to be rationed. For the first time in 3 years, Emma could breathe. But breathing was about to get a lot harder. Her new office was a glass box right outside Mr. Cole's. High visibility. Everyone could see her. Everyone did see her. And everyone was asking the same question. Who is she, and how did she get here? The whispers started immediately. She could feel the stares following her through the hallways. People would stop talking when she walked into the break room. Some were curious. Some were hostile. All of them were suspicious. The first person to officially welcome her was Helen Price, Mr. Cole's executive assistant. Helen had been with the company for 25 years. She was in her early 60s, always perfectly dressed, always perfectly polite. She had the kind of warm, motherly smile that made you feel safe. "Emma, dear," Helen said, appearing at her desk with a cup of coffee. "Welcome to Cole Industries. It's been quite a whirlwind for you, hasn't it?" Emma accepted the coffee gratefully. "That's an understatement." "Well, anything you need, files, access codes, meeting schedules, you just let me know. I'm here to help." Helen's smile was warm, but her eyes were sharp. Assessing. It must be quite different from the coffee shop. There it was. The subtle reminder of where Emma came from. "Very different," Emma agreed. Helen patted her shoulder. "You'll do just fine, dear. Mr. Cole wouldn't have hired you if he didn't see something special." Emma watched Helen walk away, and something nagged at her. Something she couldn't quite name. Mr. Cole's instructions had been simple: find the leak. He gave her one file to start with, Project Titan, the acquisition Derek had tried to sabotage. It was the company's biggest deal in 5 years, worth over $2 billion. And somehow, Victor Sterling knew every detail. Emma spent 3 days reading files, spreadsheets, emails. But she wasn't just reading data. She was reading people. Because that's what waitresses do. They read people. She noticed things. Small things. Like how Philip from accounting always had lunch with the same IT guy. How Jennifer from legal seemed unusually interested in who was accessing what files. How Helen always seemed to know everything before anyone else did. Then Emma started looking at the access logs. Who had viewed the Project Titan files? Derek, obviously. 3 analysts. The legal team. And Helen. That made Emma pause. Why would an executive assistant need deep access to financial modeling data? Emma dug deeper. Helen hadn't just viewed the files. She'd downloaded the entire packet onto an external drive. The reason listed, for Mr. Cole's travel preparation. Emma's stomach tightened. She decided to test something. She went to Helen's desk, playing the confused new girl. "Helen, I'm so sorry to bother you. I'm trying to find the meeting notes from Mr. Cole's trip to San Francisco last month. Do you know where those would be?" Helen's smile never wavered. "Of course, dear. Let me pull that up for you right now." She was too helpful. Too eager. Emma already had access to those files. Any assistant protecting her territory would have said, "You should be able to find that yourself." But Helen jumped to help, to insert herself, to see exactly what Emma was looking for. Emma spent the next week following a trail of breadcrumbs. Meeting locations. Catering orders. Security logs. And she found something chilling. Every single time there was a secret meeting about Project Titan, Helen had ordered catering from the same restaurant, the Sterling Grill. Yes, Sterling. As in Victor Sterling, their biggest competitor. Emma called the restaurant, pretending to be confirming an invoice. The manager mentioned that their delivery driver for Cole Industries orders was Mr. Sterling's nephew, Owen. Very reliable. Always on time. Emma's blood ran cold. Helen wasn't just leaking information. She was using catering deliveries as a dead drop. Confirming meeting times and locations to a Sterling family member. It was brilliant. It was invisible. And it had been happening for months. But Emma had a problem. Her evidence was circumstantial. Helen had been with Mr. Cole for 25 years. She was beloved. Trusted. If Emma accused her without solid proof, she'd be the paranoid waitress who didn't understand corporate culture. Emma needed something undeniable. She watched Helen's routine. Coffee at 8. Meeting prep at 8:30. And every day at 10:15, Helen would take a bathroom break. Exactly 3 minutes. Like clockwork. Emma knew she had one chance. One very illegal, very dangerous chance. On Thursday morning, Emma accidentally spilled coffee beans all over the hallway floor outside the break room, creating chaos right at 10:15. While Helen took the long way around to avoid the mess, Emma slipped into Helen's cubicle. Her heart was pounding so hard, she thought it might explode. She had maybe 4 minutes. Helen's computer was locked. Emma tried the obvious passwords. Nothing worked. She looked around desperately. A photo on the desk caught her eye. Helen's cat. A white Persian named Snowball. Emma tried Snowball 2019. Access denied. 3 minutes gone. Come on, Emma whispered. Then she saw it. A small purse hanging inside the desk drawer. Hidden from view. Emma grabbed it. Inside was a second phone. A cheap burner phone. Emma's hands shook as she powered it on. No password. She opened the messages. There was only one contact, V. The messages were a roadmap of betrayal. Dates, times, file names, meeting locations, and the most recent message, sent yesterday. V. The waitress is a problem. What does she know? H. She's digging. But I'm handling it. She won't last long. Emma heard footsteps. Sometimes the truth sets you free. Sometimes it puts a target on your back. Emma barely made it back to her desk before Helen returned. Her heart was racing so fast, she felt dizzy. The burner phone was hidden in her jacket pocket, burning like a hot coal against her side. She had the evidence. She had the proof. But she also had a problem. Helen didn't know the phone was missing yet. The moment she discovered it, she'd know someone had been in her desk. She'd know it was Emma. And Emma had no idea how far Helen, or Victor Sterling, would go to protect their secret. Emma's hands shook as she composed an email to Mr. Cole. She used a private email address she'd found buried in old files, one that Helen didn't monitor. Subject, urgent, do not respond verbally. Body, Mr. Cole, I found the leak. It's Helen. I have proof, a burner phone with messages between her and Victor Sterling. She's meeting Sterling's nephew at the Sterling Grill today at 1 p.m. to pass information. We need to trap her, but she can't know I'm onto her. If you understand, buzz my desk and ask for coffee. Black. That's the signal. Emma attached photos of the text messages. Her finger hovered over send for a long moment. Once she sent this, there was no going back. Helen had been with Mr. Cole for 25 years. If Emma was wrong somehow, if there was an explanation she hadn't considered, her career would be over before it started. But she knew she was right. Waitresses know liars. And Helen was lying. Emma hit send. 2 minutes passed. Then 5. Then 10. Emma watched Mr. Cole's closed office door, her stomach in knots. Then her desk phone buzzed. The red light. The intercom. Emma. Mr. Cole's voice was perfectly normal. Bring me a coffee. Black. Relief flooded through her. Right away, sir. 5 minutes later, Emma was in Mr. Cole's office with the door closed. He was reading something on his computer screen. When he finally looked up, his face was carved from stone. 25 years, he said quietly. She's been with me for 25 years. I know, sir. She knew my kids when they were babies. She organized my wife's funeral. His voice cracked, just slightly. How long has she been doing this? At least 6 months. Maybe longer. Mr. Cole's hands clenched into fists. Then, slowly, he unclenched them. The emotion drained from his face, replaced by cold calculation. You said she's meeting someone at 1 o'clock. Yes, sir. At the Sterling Grill. We could have security arrest her right now. We could, Emma agreed. But Victor Sterling would just find another leak. And we'd have no way to prove his involvement. He'd walk away clean. Mr. Cole's eyes sharpened. What are you suggesting? This was it. Emma's big play. The idea that had formed in her mind during the longest night of her life. We give Helen exactly what she wants, Emma said. We give her information to pass to Sterling. But we make sure it's poison. Mr. Cole leaned forward. I'm listening. Project Titan. Tell Helen you're panicking. Tell her you're going to liquidate the entire project. Sell off all the assets at a loss. Make it look like you're cutting your losses and running. Helen will pass that information to Sterling. And Sterling will believe it because Helen has never been wrong before. And when he acts on that false information, when he short sells our stock expecting it to crash, Emma continued, her heart racing, you announce the opposite. You announce that Project Titan just got approved for full funding. You announce the government contract we just won. The stock won't crash, it'll soar. And Sterling will be caught with his pants down, forced to cover his short position at a massive loss. A slow smile spread across Mr. Cole's face. Not a nice smile. A predator's smile. You're ruthless, he said. I learned from the best customers, Emma replied. The ones who tried to walk out without paying. Mr. Cole hit his intercom. Helen. My office. Now. Emma watched Mr. Cole transform. He became frantic, stressed, rubbing his temples like a man on the edge. When Helen walked in, he was pacing. "It's Project Titan," he said. "The numbers don't work. I'm liquidating. All of it. I've got a buyer, offshore company willing to take the assets for 40 cents on the dollar. We announce at 4 p.m. today. I want this kept absolutely quiet until then. No one can know." Helen's eyes widened. "Sir, are you sure? This seems hasty." "I don't pay you to question me." Mr. Cole snapped. "Just draft the memos. Total confidentiality. Can you do that?" "Of course, James," Helen said softly. "You know I'll handle it." "Good. That's all." Helen left. The moment the door closed, Mr. Cole's frantic expression vanished. Now we wait. At 12:30, Helen stood up from her desk, smoothed her skirt, and picked up her purse. "Emma, dear, I'm stepping out for lunch. Hold down the fort." "Of course," Emma said, giving her a small smile. The moment Helen left, Mr. Cole had security follow her. He also had a team set up surveillance at the Sterling Grill. Emma and Mr. Cole watched on a monitor as Helen entered the restaurant at 1 p.m. At 1:05, a young man slid into the booth across from her. They talked for exactly 4 minutes. Emma could see Helen leaning in, speaking urgently. The young man nodded, pulled out his phone, and started typing. "He's placing the trades," Mr. Cole said, his voice cold as ice. "Sterling is shorting our stock right now." At 2 p.m., Mr. Cole walked out of his office. He gathered the executive team. Emma stood in the back, barely breathing. "Ladies and gentlemen," Mr. Cole announced, "I have incredible news. As of this morning, Project Titan has been approved for full government funding, $2 billion. Additionally, we've secured a 10-year contract with the Department of Energy. Our stock is already up 18%. This is the biggest win in company history." The room erupted in applause. Everyone except Helen. Her face went white, then gray. She looked like she might be sick. Mr. Cole turned to her. "Helen, why don't you join me in my office?" 20 minutes later, Helen was escorted out by security. She wasn't the warm, motherly assistant anymore. She was something else, something broken and bitter and defeated. Emma watched her go. Mr. Cole appeared beside her. "Victor Sterling just lost $4 billion. His company is bankrupt. Helen will face federal charges for corporate espionage. It's over." Emma nodded, but she didn't feel victorious. She felt tired. And sad. Why'd she do it? Emma asked quietly. Mr. Cole sighed. "Her father used to work for me. 20 years ago, I had to let him go during a restructure. He blamed me for ruining his life. Apparently, so did she. She's been Sterling's informant for 5 years, waiting for the perfect moment to destroy me. 5 years. 5 years of smiling. 5 years of pretending. 5 years of revenge, one leaked file at a time." That evening, Emma sat in her new office, the one Mr. Cole had given her with the title Chief of Staff, and looked out at the Seattle skyline. The Space Needle was lit up against the dark sky. The city sparkled below. Her phone rang. It was her mom. "Emma, honey, the doctors said my test results came back. The new treatment is working. They think I might actually get better." Emma closed her eyes. Tears ran down her cheeks. "That's wonderful, Mom. I don't know what you did, sweetheart, but thank you. Thank you for not giving up." After she hung up, Emma sat in the silence. She thought about the morning brew. She thought about cracked vinyl seats and bad coffee and aching feet. She thought about red envelopes and empty bank accounts and fear. And she thought about a napkin with wrong numbers on it, and the single moment of courage that had changed absolutely everything. 6 months later, Emma walked through the lobby of Cole Industries in a tailored suit and heels that didn't hurt. People nodded to her respectfully. "Good morning, Ms. Ward." On her desk, in a frame, was that napkin. The one with the wrong formula. The one that had started it all. Mr. Cole walked into her office without knocking. He never knocked. "Board meeting in 10. The New York acquisition. I think their CEO is hiding debt. What do you think?" Emma pulled up the files she'd already analyzed. "He is. Look at footnote 17. Cross-collateralized assets. It's a shell game." Mr. Cole smiled. "What would I do without you?" "Probably make a lot of expensive mistakes," Emma said with a slight smile. He chuckled, a ray sound. "Fair enough. Let's go show the board why they should listen to the former waitress." As they walked toward the boardroom together, Emma caught her reflection in the glass walls. She barely recognized herself. Not because of the expensive clothes or the new haircut, but because of the way she carried herself now. Confident, certain, valued. She wasn't invisible anymore. That night, Emma drove to her mother's care facility, not the rundown place with flickering lights and overworked nurses, but the nice one with gardens and private rooms and doctors who actually had time to explain things. Sarah was sitting up in bed, looking better than she had in years. Her color was back. She was smiling. Really smiling. "Look at you," Sarah said as Emma walked in. "My daughter, the big executive." Emma sat on the edge of the bed and took her mother's hand. It was warm and strong, not the cold, fragile thing it had been 6 months ago. "Mom, I need to tell you something." "What is it, honey?" 6 months ago, I was about to lose everything. We were about to lose everything. I was so scared, I couldn't think straight. And then I had this one moment. This one split second where I had to decide, stay quiet and safe, or speak up and risk it all. Sarah squeezed her hand. "And you spoke up." "I spoke up," Emma repeated. "And it changed everything. But you know what scares me?" "What?" "How close I came to staying quiet. How close I came to just accepting that this was my life. That I was just a waitress, and that's all I'd ever be." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "Emma, you were never just anything. You've always been extraordinary. The world just needed a chance to see it." Emma hugged her mother, breathing in the scent of her lavender lotion, feeling the steady rhythm of her heartbeat. "I love you, Mom." "I love you too, sweetheart. Now tell me, what did you do at work today? Did you catch any more traitors?" Emma laughed. It felt good to laugh. "Not today. But the day's not over yet." So what's the point of Emma's story? Why am I telling you all this? Because somewhere out there, right now, there's another Emma. Maybe it's you. Maybe you're the one pouring coffee, or stocking shelves, or answering phones, or doing whatever job pays the bills while your real talents gather dust. Maybe you're drowning in debt. Maybe you're taking care of someone who's sick. Maybe you've convinced yourself that you're stuck, that this is just how life is, that people like you don't get miracle moments. But here's the truth that Emma learned. You are not invisible. You are not just anything. That brain you have, the one that notices patterns, that solves problems, that sees things other people miss, that brain is valuable. Incredibly valuable. Whether you're calculating enterprise values or remembering that the customer at table 7 always orders his coffee with exactly 2 sugars, that ability to pay attention, to care about details, to see what's really happening. That's power. Emma's moment of courage didn't just change her life. It changed her mother's life. It saved James Cole's company. It brought down a criminal conspiracy that had been running for 5 years. All because one woman decided that she had something worth saying, even when everyone around her was telling her, with their words, their looks, their assumptions, that she should stay quiet. The hardest part isn't having the knowledge. Emma had the knowledge for 3 years while she poured coffee. The hardest part is believing that your knowledge matters. That you matter. That your voice deserves to be heard. And yeah, Emma got lucky. She happened to spot a mistake at exactly the right moment. She happened to correct the right person. But you know what? She'd been training for that moment every single day. Without knowing it. Every time she paid attention when she could have zoned out. Every time she thought critically when it would have been easier not to. Every time she refused to let her mind go numb, even when her body was exhausted. Luck favors the prepared. And Emma was prepared. So here's my challenge to you. Stop waiting for permission to be smart. Stop waiting for permission to speak up. Stop waiting for someone to discover you and validate you and tell you that you're good enough. You're already good enough. That moment when you see something wrong, at work, in your life, wherever, and you have the knowledge to fix it, that's your moment. That's your napkin with the wrong formula on it. And you get to decide, do I stay quiet and safe? Or do I speak up and risk everything? Emma chose to speak up. And it changed her world. What will you choose? Because somewhere out there, your moment is coming. Maybe it's tomorrow. Maybe it's next week. Maybe it's 5 years from now. But it's coming. And when it arrives, the only question that matters is, will you be ready? Will you have the courage to say, excuse me, but I think there's a problem? Emma did. And that made all the difference. Thank you for watching Emma's story. If it touched your heart, if it made you think about your own life differently, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Someone who's working hard in a job that doesn't see their value. Someone who's forgotten how brilliant they really are. Someone who needs a reminder that one moment of courage can change everything. Drop a comment and tell us, what's your moment going to be? When will you speak up? We'd love to hear your story. And remember, you're not invisible. You never were.